What's up everyone, John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here. New Apple could stay out of the news for more than a few days, and today they finally announced a refresh to their MacBook Pro line of laptops. These had long been rumored. I even falsely predicted them evidently well over a month ago. The delay was evidently due to a shortage of the core chips that evidently rival manufacturer Acer was monopolizing. Let's go ahead and hop right into the updates. And for those of you that may not know, the MacBook Pro line ranges from a 13-inch model to a 15-inch models up to 17. Let's start with the little guys, the 13s, the what used to be called MacBooks. They got updates. They didn't get updates to the new Core line of chips, so the i3, i5, or i7. They stayed with Core 2 Duos, but they did get a spec bump. The lower end was bumped from 2.26 to 2.53. And the higher end went from 2.4 to 2.66, and they all got 4 gigs of RAM, which is quite nice. Price point is $11.99 and $14.99, and they now claim a whopping 10 hours of battery. Of course, that's a sealed-in, non-removable battery, but 10 hours, if accurate, is quite impressive. So let's get sort of to the meat and potatoes of Apple's announcement, and that is the 15-inch length. That's really where most of the action happens. You now have Core i5 and Core i7 chips. Everybody's kind of wondering what are these Core chips. Essentially, the architecture on the silicon, the chip, without getting too geeky, allows for faster processing, even though the clock speeds may seem lower. So there now are i5 and i7s pretty much across the entire line, offering Intel's hyper-threading. Essentially, that allows for 4 virtual cores on a dual-core processor. So more cores, faster processing. Even though they do have slower clock speeds, Apple's claiming they can come in almost 50% higher than the outgoing Core 2 Duo chips. So just to show you, it's not always clock speed that relates to actual computer speed. There are a lot of other factors in there. So these are much, much, much faster despite the lower clock speed. So the higher end is going to have a new graphics card as well, the NVIDIA GeForce GT 330M with auto graphics switching. Essentially what that is, it's akin to the NVIDIA's Optimus technology. What that'll do is if you're just doing sort of light browsing, you don't need your big, powerful video card, it's not going to use it, just going to use an integrated card that's in there as well. And whenever you need to use more graphical power, it's automatically going to switch over to that graphics card. Certainly you'll get better graphics performance, but you'll have decreased battery life. And when you're done doing graphics intensive stuff like gaming or whatever you might be doing, it'll automatically switch back to integrated. So you didn't have to do anything. Previously you had to flip a switch or there was a software solution. Now you don't have to worry about it. It's automatically going to do it for you, and you're going to get an improved battery life because of it, because you're not always going to be using the big beefy card. And Apple's claiming their new MacBook Pro lines, the 15 and 17s, are going to get between 8 and 9 hours of battery life, which is also pretty impressive. So the Core i5s you can get in all the models start at 2.4 gigahertz, go to 2.53, and the Core i7 chip goes to 2.66. 4 gigs of RAM is now standard across the entire models. You can also now get a huge 512 gigabyte solid state drive, and you know all that solid state goodness is not going to come cheap. It's going to set you back another $1,300. Prices start at $17.99 for the 15-inch, which is actually a $100 price premium over the outgoing models. They go all the way up to $2,299 on the 17, and again they are boasting 8 to 9 hours of battery life. On the 15-inch model, you get a bit more customization. You can change the screen options. By default, you're going to get a 1440 by 900 glossy screen. You can upgrade to a 1680 by 1050 glossy screen for $100 more, which is super high res. You can also add an anti-glare, essentially turns it into a matte screen for $50 more. The 17-inch, you're sort of stuck with their monitor configuration, which is 1920 by 1200. And for those of you sort of considering the higher res screen, if you think higher res is always better, sometimes it is, but it also can make the fonts and the text appear much smaller, a little sharper, something that you want to check out in the store before you go and buy. Just some friendly advice, if you look at some really high res laptop, like the Sony Vaio P for example, really, really high res, almost impossible to read. I'm not saying that's going to be the case with the MacBook Pros, but I just don't want you to go out there and spend the extra money and realize that you can't read your computer. So what's missing from all these updates? Well, nothing about the MacBook Air, which hasn't received an update in a very, very long time. And maybe Apple's forgotten about it, maybe we'll see an update at the Worldwide Developers Conference, or maybe it's been end-of-lifed. We don't really know. The MacBook line remained unchanged, but these are some pretty significant updates to the MacBook Pro. Nothing revolutionary. This is more of an evolutionary upgrade to faster processors, something that we certainly expected. Don't underestimate, though, this upgrade. This Core i5 and Core i7 chips, really, I've seen them in action, are tremendous and amazingly powerful. So if you've been holding off for a MacBook Pro, now is definitely the time to run out and get one. I'm going to get this question all the time. I've got an older MacBook Pro. It's a Core 2 Duo chip. Should I upgrade? Well, if you're doing things that require faster processor speed, you may want to consider it. This isn't just a Core 2 Duo 2.4 bump to 2.6 bump. This is an entire redo of how the computer processes things, and it is a significant bump. Although I don't think, unless you're doing heavy processing, you're going to need it. The Core 2 Duo chips are still plenty fast, although these new ones can potentially be 50% faster, which of course is quite a bit. So what do you guys think? Are you excited about the new MacBook Pros? Was it worth the wait? Are you disappointed? Were you hoping to see an update for the MacBook Air like I was? Or do you not care at all? You just want Apple to shut their mouths, you're sick of their news. I know there are some of you guys out there as well. Leave text or video comments down below. I'm really curious to hear what you guys have to say. And I am John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.